It's been nearly 8 months since its disastrous release, and people continue to ask, is Cyberpunk fixed now? Well, the loading screen still doesn't load properly, so let's start there. Seven months in and you still can't vault properly. I don't know what triggers it. It works some of the time, and then some of the times it just does this. This world is still absolutely littered with objects that you cannot pick up but just have to enticingly watch. In the open world, you can turn radios on and off and change their channel. However, the X button is the same button as jump, so a lot of times when you try to change the channel, you just do this. Sometimes you do it a lot. This one I've only observed in the latest patch, but when you use the fast travel locations, it flashes you one single frame of the destination you're fast traveling to. It never did this before. It didn't even do this in day one. But now, every single time you use the fast travel, you see exactly one frame unfinished of the place that you are traveling to. The fast travel loading screens also flicker occasionally, still. The inventory system for your guns is ridiculous because when you sort through them and start disassembling them, they do this thing where it just jumps you up into a different one, and then a lot of times you'll end up disassembling something you did not want to. This is one of the more perturbing problems with the PS5 controls. Now, if you want to use photo mode, you have to hold down L3 and R3 at the same time. And if you're getting really heated in battle, you tend to click all of your buttons, including L3 and R3, which causes you to enter photo mode at the most inconvenient time. It happens a lot, so to the point that Cyberpunk added an option to disable photo mode. Now, this really tends to kill the vibe during action, especially because if it happens at the right moment, it will kill you. Also, this is what your mantis blades look like in photo mode. You have double the amount of fingers and you're kind of wobbly. The UI for texts and phones is absolute trash. There's this thing where in Cyber Psycho missions, you have to message Regina. So if you quickly open your phone, she'll be at the top with an exclamation mark. So your instinct may be to press call. But if you call her, she won't say anything. You have to text her. But when you go to press messages, it doesn't bring you to her messages. It brings you to all your messages. And it still does this weird scrolly thing. So you can't even immediately find her message. And then when you do, it's not even always at the top. It's just frustrating and so overly difficult and onerous to do. I would absolutely love to know why ammo is considered a consumable along with the oxygen and bounce backs. This is a pretty specific one that I've encountered for the PS5. When you go to buy all of the storage of something from someone's store, when you use the R stick to scroll all the way to the right, the R stick bounces back a little bit, and instead of doing every single item, like 176 out of 176, the R stick pushes it back one, and you buy everything from the inventory except one singular item. God, this one was frustrating. If you're too close to some kind of a mission and you try to drive your car into it, you get booted from your car. And if you haven't played the game a lot, you probably won't understand why and just think it's a general error. This one took me a while to figure out that I was getting booted out of my car because I was too physically close to a mission in the car, I guess. The car retrieve system is just as broken as it was on day one. Cars show up 80 feet away. Sometimes they don't seem to show up at all. If you call two, they'll land on top of each other like this. Also, once I got in the car to remedy this situation, I saw all of my insides for a flash frame. That was weird. And then this happened. So that's the car spawn system currently.
Jesus!
The most frustrating thing about the game right now for me is that I am incapable of 100%ing this game, even though I have played it twice. For example, this mission, spray paint, I cannot go back and talk to Brendan. The first time that I played it, this completely worked, so this is actually a new bug, and I am just so frustrated. This black bar appeared while I was talking to Rogue, and then it just did not go away. I had to reload the game to get it to go away. I even left the mission, and it just stayed. All of the NPCs in this scene are the boy. And you can go through and see that they're all the same boy, except that they have a headband on. And yeah, and then I ran into this little boy as an NPC out in the Badlands. So, This is also the same mission where River just went completely invisible, but all his clothes stuck around.
Why?
Here's a suspected organized crime activity that I couldn't complete because I'd already completed it, yet it continued to show up on the map. Here's a cyber psycho that I couldn't kill because he went into the floor. Here's a guy that I couldn't carry because when I went to set his body down, he went into standing position. This is something that's actually happened to me quite a few times in this game. Most frustratingly when I was doing the mission where I had to carry Bugbear out of the apartment, because I did this about 15 times where I would jump down and then she would just stay in the air, up really high. And I had to think of a lot of creative ways to get around this. I tried parking my car underneath her and then getting on top of my car and then doing a double jump to try and reach her, but I just could not make that work. Ultimately, what I ended up having to do was get the right angle from this garbage dump and then grab her from there. Oh my god, finally! I also had a mission where I had to go into a club and the DJ was there and the music was blaring, but there was nobody dancing. So I ended up... Now, it's no secret that the NPCs in Cyberpunk do not behave normally, to say the least, but you might be surprised in just how many specific and unusual ways they act these days. When NPCs get killed by fire, grenade, or electric shocks, they have this tendency to get back up and then keep falling over and over again.
And you?
And it doesn't just work with one, it works for groups too, so... Available now for all NPCs within Cyberpunk. The fall down mode. You might have come across this NPC in the Wastelands just absolutely shredding this guitar, and I remember a lot of people thought this was really cool. There was even like a whole Reddit post about it, and I thought it was pretty impressive too. I experienced it pretty late into the game. However, on my second playthrough, I ran into this guy playing the exact same song. And then near the subway, I ran into this guy playing the exact same song. And this guy. And this guy.
This is pointless.
And there was more, but I kind of got bored of recording these NPCs playing the exact same song on guitar. Either way, there's a lot of recycled stuff in this game, and the NPCs are heavily, heavily recycled. We got two NPCs performing osmosis.
How'd you wind up here, in this city?
NPCs also have a certain tendency to go through you. They kind of phase in and out sometimes. I went to this strip club and there was this stripper dancing and then this stripper taking a breather on stage. So just for good measure, I left and then I came back and then there was this guy and then right around the corner there was the exact same guy, just in a different outfit. That's some lazy stripper NPC work. This one I'm just gonna leave with no comment.
Until next time.
Cowering NPCs has been a problem since day one. It's still super, super prevalent. I've ran into it at least 10 times in the last couple days. The game is designed to constantly put NPCs in front of you, so this really bizarre thing happens where if you quickly whip the camera back and forth, the NPCs will change every single time, and another thing is that it will recycle a lot of the same NPCs too. I cannot tell you how many NPCs I've run into with a chest piece that says hustle, or NPCs that have some kind of a shoulder problem. Hey, I even ran into one guy that has a shoulder problem and a chest piece that says hustle. Fuck, I've played so much of this game.
¿Cómo va?
There's still a lot of problems with grappling and grabbing onto NPCs, including their bodies getting stuck in stuff. Also, sometimes NPCs look like Keanu Reeves. There's a lot of NPCs with green hair and purple costumes, which just absolutely makes them look like the Joker. I don't know why there's so many frickin' Jokers in this game.
Don't touch me.
The cops are still relatively brainless. I mean, you know, at least that part's realistic. If you get the perk that allows you to use your gun while carrying a body, every time you go to pick up a body, this is what happens now. They go through you, and then your gun automatically comes out and you have to holster it. I would also like whatever the hell these two NPCs were on at Johnny's concert. Okay, this one I did not get video for because this actually happened before I started screen capping for this video, but I ran into an NPC who had some kind of eyelid shader that said, "Do not use in game." This game has been out almost 8 freaking months! Okay, this one was absolutely wild. I was in the middle of combat and I kept grabbing this guy from behind, and every time I grabbed him, he kept sort of blipping in and out of existence, and he would sort of escape my grip. You'd hear him and then you wouldn't hear him, and every time I grabbed him again, he dropped a weapon. And this happened for several minutes, and after those several minutes, this guy had dropped literally somewhere between like 30 and 40 guns. So I just picked up casually like $10,000 worth of guns. 121 guns. By the way, I thought that this was the craziest bug that I had run into in the game while making this video. And then the next day, something even crazier happened. So stay tuned to the very end for that. A lot of drones and robots can be killed but not looted, especially when they're out in the open world. They seem a lot more lootable during story missions, so You can fully swim underwater in this game, but God knows why, because there is virtually nothing under the water. And I've spent so much time trying to find things, and most of the time there is really just nothing. Also, when you swim on top of the water, this is your vision. And it's like, yeah, that's how swimming works. Something I just find really stupid and annoying is when you zoom in on somebody while they're talking, it does this vocal effect, and it's ridiculous because why would someone's voice sound further away when you zoom in on them?
Like my old life. Like my life now. I want Razor punished for what he did.
Overlapping dialogue continues to be a plague on story missions and open world activities.
I don't believe you. You saved me just like that because you felt like it?
Don't measure others by your own yardstick.
You can't jump during phone calls. This is something that is going to be addressed in 1.3, but again, ridiculous that it took 8 months for you to be able to jump during a phone call. You also cannot save while jumping. There's just a lot of things you can't do while jumping. Jumping seems to just break the game's basic mechanics. Sometimes the game has a decent amount of cars, but a lot of times it just looks like this. Just one of the many things that really fails to make this game feel immersive. Well, I really can't tell you how many times I ran into the no future graffiti in this game. It is literally everywhere. It has to be one of the most recycled assets in this game. No future, no future, no future, no future, no future. Oh, and very occasionally, no regrets. Pick your player. And last but not least, I'd just like to say, considering Samurai is meant to be this ultra obscure band, and they go through a lot of trouble to establish that, there does seem to be a lot of Samurai merch, everywhere. Listen, take it from somebody who's played 178 hours of this game, 2 full run-throughs, every single build since its release in December. Oh yeah, and I read pretty much the entire guidebook. Like a total sucker. There is a lot to admire about Cyberpunk, and I love a lot about it. I would argue that the game is always at its best when you're in combat, because a lot of the combat can feel very smooth and very fun and very involved. But as you've seen in my video, there's also so many glaring problems that are present in all stages of the game that if the question still remains 8 months after its release, is Cyberpunk fixed yet? Then the answer just has to be a definitive and resounding, I don't know.